what I've realized is that businesses always end. Either they worked really well and you sold it, or they didn't work and you shut it down. For me and where I'm at in my journey, it made more sense to kind of sell and move to the next thing.
Business, it's the coolest thing I've ever done, but it's the most stressful. But it's like, now you see that they're all different. They all have their different components to them. You even get into businesses that are successful and you're like, this still really isn't worth it.
Whenever you're trying to do something that someone has never done before, you have to... What's up, wealth builders? Today, I have a very big announcement to make. Depending on how my editors did this video, it might be in the title. It might have been in the preview already, but I am selling my CPA firm, TrueBooks. Now, many of you might be wondering, who am I selling it to? Well, it's not going anywhere. I'm actually just selling my portion to my founder, or my co-founder, Matt Bontrager, who's been helping the entire organization from the beginning and leading it from the front and making it happen. And it's super exciting to see what you're going to do with it, man.
Thanks, dude. Yeah, it's an exciting but scary time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does it feel to be like a solo? Do you feel like you're solo now, or do you feel like, since you have such a big team, it's, Yeah, I don't feel like it's so much solo like it was in like 2020 when we first started. I was trying to do all the you're
work
by yourself.
myself. Yeah. But so now with a team, I feel like usually they say like you jump off and build the plane. I feel like we got a pretty good plane now.
Yeah.
But there's still always that fear there of like, you're somewhat by yourself now from an owner's perspective, like in the owner's box.
Yeah. How many employees, I don't even want to say we now, because you're the 100% owner. So
I just sent an offer letter for a senior tax manager, and that'll probably be our 21st employee.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's crazy to think where
me
and you, dude, in 2020, January.
Yeah. To see it, basically 4 years later, multi-million-dollar company, hundreds and hundreds of clients. We've prepared over 1,000 returns.
We prepared over 1,000 returns. If you looked at our client count now, we're probably at 500 to 600 clients.
Yeah.
Because most of them will have multiple returns and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, for anyone who's been, following me for a while, then you've probably seen you on the channel many times, and we've talked a lot of different tax stuff. But, this episode, I actually want to talk a little bit about why, I've decided to sell, and why, I guess just like businesses start, and, what I've realized is that businesses always end. There's an ending to them somehow. Either they worked really well and you sold it, or they didn't work and you shut it down. I've been the recipient of both. In this case, it's worked really, really well. And so, for me and where I'm at in my journey, it made more sense to kind of sell and move to the next thing. And for you and your journey, you're planning to do, a lot longer in the tax world. And that's kind of like part of why I'm selling and why things are going down. But I guess for anyone wondering, for me at this point, and I'll let Matt explain his position. For me at this point, I've started a lot of companies over the last 5 years, and, I've got a lot of big ones that I'm very proud of. I've had others I've shut down, like I said, and TrueBooks was always one that was just started like out of necessity. It wasn't started as like, dude, you know what? I'm going to go make all this money in tax. Like legitimately, we started it because I could not find a CPA that could fill my needs. And like, I was making millions of dollars, and I just like went through CPA. And then I finally found Matt back in 2018. Yeah. 2018, which actually he was just coming on to be a bookkeeper. That was the first year I made over $1 million. And, it's ironic now because you got a bookkeeping business program that you're running too, which we'll talk about. But, from there, I just really liked him, and we vibed, and, eventually, I guess we'll talk about the origin story here in a minute. Yeah. But, we start TrueBooks in 2020, and it was never this thing that, I was like, man, I'm going to just go dump all this fire on and blow it up. It was just like, hey, I'm going to probably get pretty big in the real estate space, and they're all asking me already, like, who does tax? And, it'll just be like more of a business that's just going to happen. Yeah. And I'll say, I've even been surprised the last 4 years at how quickly it's grown with very little marketing effort. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I always like to say, so I'm pretty transparent with the numbers, right? Like you too. First year we did 110. Second year we did 860. Last year we did 2.6.
Yeah.
We'll probably do a little shy of 3. So it's like, yeah, the growth has been insane. And just as you said, it was never this light bulb idea was like, this is the next $1 million business. It was just, we knew that there was a necessity. I feel like, yeah, it was a joke that I had made at back to this like origin story, right? We were at one of your other companies, Forever Home.
Yep.
One of their like quarter end parties. And we just talked about the bookkeeping. And I was like, man, I should get like an office in your spot. And we should do like we should start a business doing this. You drive the work right. You drive the business. I'll do the work. And you're like, let's do it.
Yeah.
Quit my job that December.
Yep.
Yeah. That party had to have been like October maybe. So it gave me a couple months to really think on it. And yeah. So it's crazy that it wasn't a $1 million idea, but it turned into one.
Yeah. For me, well, it made sense for both, because for you, it was an opportunity to, run your own business, because you were always an entrepreneur at heart. You had been working for, these guys, but I could tell you were an entrepreneur. You're hustling. You had your little side business with guys like me. And I was always an entrepreneur. I never had a job. But for me, it was just like, dude, if I can keep tax in-house, that's going to make my life significantly easier.
Oh yeah.
And I know that I'm going to get enough like just referrals from what I'm doing to justify, getting you. And it's like, dude, if my tax can be free and I control it, great. It's a win.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much, I guess, what happened in year one.
Yep.
And, we didn't really put much effort behind trying to grow it. It was just like, you were basically doing everything.
Yeah. Natural. People would ask you who did their tax work. I brought my book of business over. We were busy handling your books too. You were in a huge growth stage at that point, right? With the flips and all the activity you had going on too. And it was still solo dolo me.
Yeah.
So we had really no employees or anything. So, you were technically a large client of TrueBooks too. So
I was the largest.
Yeah, exactly. So the largest. So it was like, there was still work to be done, but yeah, it was dude, it changed my life. It was it's such a cool story that now I can just like, man, like it's probably one of the coolest stories of my life, how it just worked out. And that's where it was a bit of luck. It was a bit of persistence to like try to meet you and like get together. And then I finally met you and Noel, and man, it was life-changing for me for sure.
Yeah. Because you DM'd me back in like 2017 or something.
Yeah, it was early.
And I was getting somewhat famous in Vegas, definitely not online.
Yeah.
And you're just like, dude, I'll do it. I'll do your books. I'll do your books. And I was like, fine, dude, like give this kid a chance. Cause like friggin', honestly, I had like this, I had like ageism. I'm like, dude, I need
you did. Yeah. You were like, you're not some old white haired gray old man.
Like, dude, I want some guy who knows what he's doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
not some young punk. Yeah.
Yeah. Some young punk out of college.
Yeah.
But Noel liked you. And we were like, all right, let's just try him for bookkeeping, because we need a bookkeeper. And
it wasn't even a tax thing.
No.
It was just to do your books.
But then once you proved yourself, I was like, you know what? Let him try, try it on the tax return.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like how it matured. And then after, a year of working together, it was like, all right, that party, let's see what this would look like, more long-term.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would say around, in 2020 was also when I got on social media. And so, at that point I was busy growing there. My education business was starting to get some traction. And then 2021, things really exploded.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, that was for all companies, but TrueBooks was a huge recipient of just the influx of social media leads. And we started to learn how to monetize better and drive traffic. And like, that was a big jump now looking at it in hindsight.
Think about just TrueBooks' revenue was $100,000 to $800,000.
Yeah.
That was a massive, and that was the first year that we really started to bring on employees and realized that like, you can't do this yourself. Like
I remember having those conversations with you because let me tell you guys, I was, because I had already been used to hiring people and like delegating, and it was second nature to me. But I was like, Matt, quit doing the tax returns yourself, bro. Like we're never going to scale.
Yeah.
And the way he was compensated back then was based on like work he did. And like, so he got paid like quote unquote as an employee that way. And then we had our owner shares. And I was like, bro, you're going to make more money just hiring it out. Quit doing the work.
Yeah.
And I remember like beating my head, like trying to explain that.
I'm an accountant, dude. We hate risk. But yeah, that was a huge learning curve for me, which I feel like was a steep one. Once I made my way past and we had that first couple employees, I was like, okay, now I see why you need to hire people, that there actually is an owner's role. I feel like as an accountant, we get caught up in, we're used to like when you see a partner, they can do the work and they can run the show. Yeah. So I'm like, I didn't really think that there was a job in just running the show. Now I'm like, oh my gosh, that is a full-time job.
Yeah.
To run the show.
Yep.
And so, that was a big learning curve for me.
Yeah. That was funny. Yeah. But then, obviously it led to what it led to. And then 2022, more of the same, that year we both started growing on social media, and more and more leads came, and just we never spent any money on marketing. It was just always organic. People from other companies I owned, and just word of mouth and referrals from clients. And the cool thing too with tax, unlike some of these other businesses, is that you get recurring revenue. So it just kind of compounds on itself versus like, hey, on house flipping, we got to find the next deal. Like there's no compound.
New sales, always.
Even in education, there's not a lot of compound. It's always looking for the next client or student or whatever. And so tax is one of those businesses that I think it snuck up on me for like how quickly it got bigger, because I'm not trying to like market and grow it, but I didn't realize the compound effect that was happening.
You had the same people, for us to go from that 100K that we did in year 1 came with us in year 2, and we did another 7. So it's like, you don't consistently need to sell, which I think from an accountant's perspective, I love that business for that reason, right? Like being risk adverse, I hate the thought of new sales. It's just a scary thought, but that's one of the best pieces about this business from all aspects: bookkeeping, monthly recurring revenue, tax work. You keep them happy, they come back. But to, I guess, see where this veers, because obviously now we're in 2023 and I've sold my equity to you. And so people would say, well, I mean, dude, if this business is recurring and it's great, why not stay a part of it? Why sell? Entrepreneurs, if you want to grow your business, there is no better investment than your own personal brand. The smartest thing I ever did was start creating content and investing into my brand. Ever since then, we've been able to triple our business. I've been able to raise more money than ever to continue buying more real estate. And it's all because I create content just like this. Now, a lot of people have asked me, Ryan, how am I supposed to do it? I don't know where to start. I don't know who's going to edit it. I don't know even what kind of setup or camera or anything to do. Well, here's the thing. We can help you with all of that at Pineda Media. We have a podcast checklist that you can actually get for free at pinedamedia.com that's going to go over everything you need on starting a podcast. But to make matters even better, we'll actually edit your podcast for you. We'll repurpose it into short form clips like you see on my Instagram and my TikTok, so that people will start seeing those clips and watching your podcast, and in turn, being customers or investors in your business. So if you want the one-stop solution where you can get everything done for you, plus get the education you need to grow your personal brand, then you need to go to pinedamedia.com and book a free call with our team. You can also go get that free podcast checklist and that training program absolutely free by just going there. So go check it out. And I think there's a few reasons for me anyways. One is that, my priorities and everything have shifted dramatically in my life. Obviously social media is there. We're trying to scale the house flipping to just crazy new levels with our Wealthy Investor Partner program. We're throwing these events and running this big education company now, and I have huge plans there. We have Pineda Media, which I have huge plans there. I have a few portfolio companies that we've acquired that I don't even talk about that, we're working on. And that's just deciding whatever my next freaking thing I'm going to think up tomorrow is. And for me, even though TrueBooks is a very successful company, it's like, man, dude, I can't scale this business quick enough to justify like my attention or time, because I know I can build an 8-figure business. Like I've built lots of them, and I know that I can scale my current ones, and I know that I can help other people scale theirs. And it's like, man, tax scaling is very, very difficult. It's not like these other companies where, they're very, sales and marketing driven. It's very service and labor driven. And so if I were to even use what I know to scale it, I don't know that like Matt could even handle it. Like, it's like, dude, we'd have to go hire 30, 40 more people to like really get it. You'd have to hire 10x what you think at a way faster pace.
Yeah. And so that kind of became the thing where, alignment and just like different objectives started to happen, where it's like, well, dude, this isn't like, it's amazing that it's done this, but it's not fair to you for me to say, well, dude, like if we're not going to grow it, then like, what are we doing? Right. And it's not fair to me to be like, well, dude, like I only know one way, and that's let's go. And so, you've got just two different things where it's like, well, dude, for me, I would rather try and grow this thing really quickly and go sell it and flip it for a big multiple and do it. And I know from your perspective, you're like, dude, I'm an accountant. Like, even though like I'm a business owner now, like I love tax and I want to be this guy who's got a business for the next 20 years. And I'm like, dude, I'm not going to be in the tax business for 20 years. There ain't no way.
Yeah. That was one of through this process of us talking about this deal and watching other businesses, right? That like we've seen together in the past working together. One of the biggest things I learned was when you were like, every business will end in some way. And I had never given it thought. I'd never even thought of owning a business. I was an employee. So that's a never ending gig. You're just an employee.
Yeah.
Then to think that every business will have a life cycle. And I was like, man, this is true. This isn't even an emotion. Cause you could say this is much more of an emotional thing for me being an accountant.
Oh, for sure.
I'm like
your first business.
This is my trade. This is my skill versus you. This was much more business mindset. Like I just see a market for it. I see that we have a solution for this and there's money to be made like any other normal business owner would think about it. But I didn't think about it from that perspective. So it's really opened my eyes now to be like, well, emotions aside, that's probably not a really bad idea. If you have a market for something, you have the solution for it to grow it, build a good consumer base, and then sell it in so many years. So it was crazy to me to even think that even though it's not something I want to do, it's like, wow, that really makes sense. That on paper, that is such a smart move to make. And so that's where, again, I think like when we talk about the reasons for this was just like, this is much more of just a long-term thing for me. And kind of like to myself, I don't know what I would do next. I'm an accountant, so I'm a CPA. So I don't know. I
have no other skills.
Yeah. So until one of these sort of knocks me upside the head, one of these days to make me think about something else than, right. Other than the bookkeeping, thing,
which is still in line.
Yeah. Again, still very accounting focused. It's like, it's just much more of a long-term play for me. But, that was something that really opened my eyes was like, that's a play to just build it, sell it.
Well, and even in our discussions, it's like, the thing I kept conveying was like, it's not a play. It is going to be like, it's the odds are, it's going to get sold at some point. There's maybe a merger. There's,
it's inevitable.
Yeah. Like, and the good thing is it's not that it's like going under or shutting down. Like, cause that's what happened. That's the reason most businesses end.
Yes.
Right. It has nothing to do with having success.
Yep.
And so, I mean, even for me, right. I always talk about time on this podcast being like my most valuable resource. And so for me, it's like, man, what am I going to focus my time and attention on? What's the best opportunity and headspace? And, it's like, man, well, if I can't scale this very quickly and it's just going to be a slow grind up the hill, it's like, all right, well, I'm not super interested at that point. And, like obviously tax is something that I know very well now, having owned the company for 4 years. And, I'll continue to know tax very well. Yeah. So, I don't know. I just want everyone to know it has nothing to do with, my relationship with you or just, I don't know, anything. It's just like, it just doesn't really make sense for me. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. Like people's first reaction to like anybody hearing this, like throughout these last couple of weeks, let's say it was like, they first think that it's something negative. And I'm like, dude, I'm so grateful for him. Like that would like, it's nothing. I learned so much about partnership, right? Mm-hmm. Like we were the perfect definition of why it made sense. I brought something to the table that you completely lacked, which was I'm an accountant.
Yep.
I'm a CPA. You brought something that I had no clue of that was completely outside of my realm, marketing and sales, right? Like accountants are not salesmen.
Yeah.
They're number crunchers. And so I love that we got to see something work. So it's like beautiful.
I love that.
It works great, dude.
Remember when you would take the sales calls too?
Oh, and So starting out, that is something that I did. I would take all sales calls, any lead that came through the door that wanted to work with TrueBooks. That was Matt that would talk to them. Yeah. Like that was cool too, wearing every hat, but then you quickly realize, take that hat off.
I was like, bro, you suck. I remember I texted him. I was like, dude, you're not allowed on sales calls anymore. You suck.
Yeah. I remember we were somewhere and we did like a live talk or something. And we had talked before, like, okay, at the very end,
you're going to pitch.
Yeah. You're going to pitch. And I get off and then you're like, you didn't say anything about they don't even know how to buy from you. And it was like, oh my gosh, dude, I totally spaced the piece. And so, it's just like watching this all play out was like, people have their roles and that was not my role.
Yeah. I was like, bro, you're done.
Yeah.
But I think the funny part for you has always been, and this is just goes back to the accounting, is like, you don't want to spend money.
Yeah.
And I was like, we're going to hire a sales guy. No, dude, I can close them. I'm like, dude.
Yeah.
It was like in the early years, I had to like explain things that just made me so irritated.
Yeah, I'm
sure. I was like, bro,
It's ignorant.
Do I have to really explain to you why we need a salesperson and like how it's going to make sense and like how it's going to free up your time? And he's actually going to make more money than he cost us because he's going to convert more people. Yeah. Those were funny days.
Thinking back to myself now, even trying to argue a point to that is just like me now telling my past self to like, just relax.
What people may not know about you is you're an arguer.
Yeah, I am. I will always try to play the devil's advocate to some extent, and sometimes to my like detriment. It's not a good look sometimes, but and at that time, even now knowing what I know now, which is like people play their roles, you got to hire the right seats and that, even though it means spending money, obviously it's just, I learned it the hard way. I had to struggle the way out of it. And then we got these people in these seats and I'm like, man, okay. Should have listened to that sooner.
No, it was funny, dude. And it's funny because like for me, I've had to learn, I mean, like, obviously, like I've built a lot of wealth the last 4 years. And so like, our lives have drastically changed, in the last 4 years too. It's like did you have Ari before we started?
I had Ari May of 19 and I quit my job December.
Okay. So you just had a newborn.
Had my first kid. Yeah.
Yep. And then you had the twins.
Had the twins after. Yeah.
And
Bogo.
Yeah. James was 1.
Yep.
And then, I've had 2 sons. So like family wise, things have changed dramatically. Yeah. Social media wise, we've both built good followings.
I got a front row seat to that. That was cool to watch you grow from. I always tell people like, dude, I was around Pineda when he was in his glass office with a Gorilla Pod, baby. It was a red iPhone and it was just him in this tripod. And now like we look around this and it's like, that's cool. You should find a picture of that of some sort and hang it somewhere. Cause like, that's where it started. I feel like, that was the Flamingo office and you with a tripod. And it was like, you had so much discipline to sit there and crank out videos just from your cell phone. And it's like, to see what that brought you was insane.
Yeah.
Insane.
For those who don't know, Matt's talking about, so we had this small little 1,000 square foot office.
Yeah.
And back then, this was like 2018, 2019.
Yeah.
I would just make videos on my iPhone and I had a tripod, like you said. No mic. Nothing.
You weren't watching all these videos of what to do, what to use. You were just, I'm going to use this.
Yeah. And I didn't post on like YouTube or anything, but all I had was Facebook. I would just post a Facebook video. And I don't even know what I would talk. Like, it would just be like a 4-minute video. And also too, I didn't know how to edit or anything. Yeah. So I had to do it in one take. Yeah. And so I just remember.
You probably posted from the phone.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. There was no computer.
There was nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the thing that now looking back on it that was smart was because I was so dumb, not knowing that I could edit and cut. Legitimately, I did not know. And I would mess up like 3 minutes in and I'm like, crap, I gotta start over. And I would refilm a video many, many times until I hit it perfectly.
Yep.
And then, sure enough, now you look at it, it's like, oh yeah, dude. Oh, you want me to make a video?
Yeah.
On a dime, on a dime. I never scripted anything because you couldn't like look at a script. I literally freestyled it all.
Yep.
2018, 2019. So by the time I was like, all right, you know what? I'm actually going to do content seriously, and I'm going to buy a camera and like do this thing they call editing.
It was easier for you then.
It was way easy.
You had thugged it out the hard way.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I love. I love that it was just because in this day and age of media, even me now, like you said, I started to get somewhat of a following, obviously being around you, that gave me a following. Last year I had a big video go off that really went somewhat viral for tax. And to see like I myself, how should I film it? Where should I sit? What camera should I use? What landscape? Should I use a mic? Should I wear something different? What's my background? There's a billion questions that you see all these content creators worry about. Yeah. And you're like, dude, I'm just wearing what I wear today. Didn't even think about that. I didn't think about anything but just setting my phone up and I'm just going to film. And it's like, that's that. And look at what it did. And it's like, you moved so much faster than I think people who just sit there with this like analysis paralysis. And it was just like, again, a beautiful thing to watch. Like it was just the process that led itself to this, which for the viewers, if you could see what we're sitting in, this is a lot different than what, 2018 was.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It was a Gorilla Pod in your phone. I remember it specifically.
Yeah. And a little like
the and the glass office, which I like too, because from like a leadership perspective, your team could see you and they're doing it. Like
working.
They could see you sort of grinding it out. So that was nice. That was cool.
Yeah, I remember when we got this office too. Because that was in 2019 when I like locked up this lease. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I'm going to build a big company. Mm-hmm. Like, we don't need this big of an office yet, but like, we're going to do it. And, we got to move in May of 2020. Like, we were supposed to move in during COVID.
Yep. got pushed back.
Yeah, COVID pushed it back. And then I was like, all right, let's go. Like, I don't even know who's going to fill it.
Yeah. That was blind faith for sure. Yeah.
But yeah. And too,
I feel like you're bursting at the seams.
Yeah, we're going to need new space.
Yeah.
But that's a whole different story. I don't like office is tough because you want to grow, but how do you plan for that? Like, how do I plan for what's going to happen the next 5 years?
Yep.
I don't know. But
when it comes to contracts that you have to sign for three or five,
yeah,
leases.
This was a 5-year deal. Yeah. And thankfully it's like played out well. Well, actually we had to get another space. And so like it's worked out. But if I go buy the next building, like I'm like, I don't know.
It's a tax benefit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. But what I was going to say is just like, it's been interesting to see. Oh no, this is what I was going to say. You brought up Forever Home earlier. So like many people don't know, but I used to own a real estate brokerage with 200 agents, which I also started.
Yep.
And it was literally the same thing as TrueBooks, but just last year where I was like, dude, this thing makes money. Like, we're making, I don't even know what we're making, but I think we're netting like 30 grand a month or something.
Yep. And
I was like, this is just not worth my time. Like we got 200 agents. It's like a business, once again, that cannot scale, that's super labor intensive. Like you just keep having to go recruit realtors who don't sell anything and eat up office space. And like, it's just not a scalable business. And it's not even benefited by my following nationwide because I can't, bring them here. So then, we made the decision to shut it down and move all the agents over to real brokerage.
Yep.
And I was like, all right, well, let's at least give it a shot being nationwide now and see how that plays out. And so I was like, all right, well, we're going to find out. And so we did it. And I didn't even really get to implement my plan because Real shut it down. And I'm like, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
They were being lame about my market. Actually, I'll just say what happened now because I don't really give a crap. So, these fools, I do these videos, like trying to create these cool ways and, things for people to join. And like, hey, we're going to do some group coaching. And, I created Wealthy Agent in order for, to bring these agents in. I'm like, look, if you join the downline, we'll coach you and do all this stuff. And a bunch of real agents got butt hurt. And, pretty classic realtor, dumb crap.
Yeah.
So they got butt hurt and they report like, freaking, these guys are just eating up the competition.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
thought that
well, so none of these team leaders have like their own freaking people that they're mentoring and that's how they're bringing it like in their downline. Isn't that the number one pitch of anyone in EXP or Real where they're like, hey, we'll give you mentorship and
training,
help you out and training. I just did it in like a 10 times better way and more branding and official. And now it's a problem. And I was like, nope, this ain't the business for me then.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah.
And so, I just literally gave it to Nick, my partner at Forever Home. I said, do you just keep the whole downline? I don't care.
Yeah.
If you are trying to grow your real estate investing business, then you need to join us at Wealthy Investor. If you have no idea what Wealthy Investor is, it is our coaching program and community. We have helped thousands of students worldwide grow their business. Now, it doesn't matter if you're just getting started and you're trying to get that first deal. We can help you do that. If you're trying to scale your business and go from a few deals a year to a few deals a month, or even 7 figures a year, we can help you do that too. In fact, last year alone, we had over 30 students do over $1 million in revenue. And I'd love for you to be the next one. So it's pretty simple. If you're trying to grow your business and wholesale more homes or flip more homes or buy more rental properties, then you need to go to wealthyinvestor.com and book a free call with our team. It's super simple. We'll go on a strategy call with you and figure out how we can help you grow according to your needs. So all you got to do is go to wealthyinvestor.com, book the free call with the team, and we'll see you there.
I feel like the stat is like a small business, 90% of them fail within what I thought was 5 years, but it's really 10 years. And I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, we're 4 years through right, with TrueBooks. And I'm like, it's been nice, but it's definitely been the hardest thing I've ever done, the most rewarding thing I've ever done. But I'm like, man, to think that there's people that get to year 7, 8, 9, and it's just like they still fail. I'm like, business is it's the coolest thing I've ever done, but it's the most stressful. But it's like, now you see that they're all different. They all have their different components to them. And as you see, you even get into businesses that are successful and you're like, this still really isn't worth it when I now see my opportunity elsewhere.
Yeah.
And
well, that's why I don't know what the true, like I would want to understand the true stat instead of it like being that businesses don't last more than, 10 years or 5 years. Because I think 4 out of 5 fail by year
do
5.
They go merger? Do they go eat? Do they go consolidate?
For instance, with me, it's like Forever Home did not fail.
Yeah.
It was just like, this is not worth my time.
Yep.
Right. And that business was 4 or 5 years. So it counts.
That had a good longevity. Yeah.
Yeah. Like it counts as part of the failure rate.
Yep.
And it obviously was not a failure.
Yep.
So you're just like, all right, how many of these businesses either just sell or get shut down because the entrepreneur has something better now?
Yeah.
And so it's like the entrepreneur just is moving.
That is an interesting stat. I wonder what that would be. I would still think it's because when I think of a business,
most of them failing though.
I was going to say, I picture like, hey, you ran out of cash, you can't pay your bills, that kind of thing. But yeah. And that's like, again, like to think about businesses and when people think about starting a business, what attracted me so much to this, which I think you too, was like, hey, this is a recurring business. Like, treat, almost every client like a rental property. If you, service them right, keep them happy, do a good job, they're going to come back.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So that's an interesting stat because even too, like if you were to think about the house flipping business, I'm on year 8. And so we're about to crank in 2024. 2023 has sucked, but we're going to crank in 2024. And with that business, it's like, I don't even know how they're defining it like in their statistics because we buy from all these LLCs and like it's just,
is it multiple businesses? Is it
like, do they just look at LLCs and that's how they judge it? Did the LLC dissolve or like, how would you judge it? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think the rate's as high as people give it. What I would look at is the entrepreneur rate of how many people, quit trying to be an entrepreneur after year 5, right? It's definitely not 4 out of 5. Like I think maybe an idea didn't work and now they're doing a new idea or they got a better thing. But, I would probably guess it's probably like 50-50 because I do see entrepreneurs fail and then they realize like, I need to go get a job.
Yeah. Do you think most entrepreneurs that fail within their business or close down their business go back to maybe being an employee?
For sure.
Or
I think half.
Else? You think half?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because I've hired many of them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. True.
Like I've hired many people who had house flipping companies or education company, like whatever. Right. And then it's tough being an entrepreneur and doing it on your own, doing the sales, doing the marketing, doing the ops. And I bring them in and I say, you know what, dude, you're really good at this. Just do that. Yeah. And you have no risk. You don't have the risk of overhead and office and marketing. Yeah. I'll take the risk. You just do what you do well.
I feel like that. So that's another conversation I was having, that the pandemic and working from home and all of that became really sexy. And I think that a lot of people quit their W-2 jobs and were like, man, now I got this flexibility. I'm going to go out and earn my own income, doing my own thing. Yeah. And I think a lot of them are going to go back to doing more just like being an employee, because I think that it's a mix of they won't see the success as fast as they thought. And I don't think that they understand how hard it is. Like when I was saying, like, again, like these have been
social media has made it sexy.
Yeah, totally. And it's like the last few years I've made more money than I ever have. It's been life-changing for me, but I've never been as stressed. You know what I'm saying? Like I've never had like the kind of calls and conversations I've had to make. And to think like I'm on the tip, like
you got to fire people, do things you don't have to do when you're an employee.
Yeah. And it's like to think about the things that you have to deal with now. And I like to say now, being 4 years in, but I feel like I've gotten more experience. I've got to be alongside you running other businesses. I help business owners, so I see them. And I feel like the money and the numbers part of business is the easier part. It's still hard, but it's like the margin, what you need to sell the cup of lemonade for, what you buy it for, that's not bad. But leading people and getting people to work the way that you want, treat your customers.
You understand the pro forma.
Yeah, the numbers is easy. What you need to make and spend to make money is the easy part.
Oh crap, there's people.
Oh gosh, getting people on board to do what you need them to do to make this a good place to work. Like that is a leader. That is the hard part. And so to think that like, I got another 20 years to learn this now, somewhat way better, you know,
for sure.
That's the hard part now.
Yeah. You got to improve, not you, but just in general with every entrepreneur. It's like, okay, you got to know your numbers, which is why I brought you in. Okay. You also have to have like an idea and constantly innovating your offers and your marketing and all that. And then, there's this people component of how good of talent can you attract? How do you get the most out of them? How do you retain them? How do you create culture? A place where people want to work. How do you keep them motivated?
Yeah.
And then I'll tell you the thing that I've learned this year more than anything is like, and I think it's the thing I was telling you just about business in general, having a life cycle is like, for the most part, employees have a life cycle too. When I went into business, I was like, man, dude, like these people are going to work for me for the next 20 years. Like we're going to do this because that's kind of like what happened back in the day. Like
it was,
you go
people
work
stayed longer than what,
you would, it's just like, that's what it was with a career path. You start here and then you're going to work your way up for 20 years at this company and then you're going to get a pension. And that's like what our parents were taught, but that is not the case in our reality today. It's like people are constantly turning over or, getting a new opportunity or having a life change. And that's the big thing I've seen is like, man, like just to see all the people who have come and gone, many of which are great people, but now for whatever reason, something changed.
Yeah.
Right. It's like maybe the business model changed and they weren't a fan of it. Maybe their life changed. They had kids. Something happened. Maybe, the economy crushed them and it is what it is. Or, a totally different thing. Like, people get divorced. People have like personal problems and there's nothing you can do about it.
So many outside factors.
Yeah.
So many outside factors. Yeah. It's funny. When I look at my LinkedIn, the longest place I've ever worked is TrueBooks.
There you go.
Yeah. If you looked at my, when I left college, I went to the Big Four and it was like, Matt would be at about a year and a half here, year and a half here, year and a half here. He's gone. Now he's been at his own shop for, 4 years now. So I find that funny too. And it is. And that's where, again, I see people like when they realize how hard it is and the money that they can make, sure. But there's a lot of stress and you have to learn so many. I feel like being an employee, you can be, like you said, really good at one thing versus if you're going to be a business owner, you at least are going to have to be multifaceted in other areas.
Yeah. And you know what it's done for me is because I guess I have more perspective on it. When you're, I guess, starting out and you don't have a lot going on, you start to take things like that personal, right? Like, oh man, like why?
Oh yeah. Like people leaving and stuff.
Well, this guy leaving or whatever, right? Or you take it personal with a customer, right? Customer leaves you because they want to go with a different firm or they don't want to renew this, right? Yeah. Like I remember, just getting started in the education business. I'm like, dude, why don't you want to renew? Like this has been, the community's great. You got that. And like, I would take it personally. And then now having done it for many years, you're like, no, that's just kind of like how people are, like, especially in education, you learn the thing that you want to learn and you now want to go learn somebody else's thing and somebody else's thing. And like, I'm like, yeah, that's just kind of the way life goes. It is what it is, and I think the sooner you start accepting those things, the sooner, or it just makes it easier not to like, I guess, take it personal because it's like, dude, I'm still great friends with, people who have either, left the coaching program or left the company or whatever. And I'm just like, dude, that's life.
Yeah.
Brian DeVille is funny. He has this thing called the circle. He always makes fun of me of.
Okay.
Has he told you?
No.
Okay. So he's like, dude, here at Pineda Company, we have this thing called the circle. Do you know about it? I go, it's my company. What is the circle?
I should, but I don't.
I would have created it. He's like, you did create it. You just didn't know you created it. I go, what is it? He goes, okay. So imagine a circle. He starts explaining it to me like I'm an idiot.
That's Brian. Imagine a circle.
Yeah, he goes, imagine a circle. He actually wrote it on the board. He's like, okay. So we're right here in the circle at the top, right? This is us.
He's on the circle.
Yep. He's like, this is everyone here at Pineda Company. He's like, then somebody leaves and now they're here. They're out in the real world, doing life.
Okay.
He's like, but then what happens is at some point they end up back in the circle at Pineda Company because there's been many people who have gone through the circle of whatever we fire them or they go do their own thing. And then after a while they realize it sucks and then they end up coming back or there's a new opportunity now that we have that they'd be a better fit for. Like, it's just, he's like, it's the circle
of life, baby.
Yeah. And as much as I was just cracking up about it, the more I was like, yeah,
He's got something here.
Yeah, like that's, Mufasa and Simba, like it's just a thing. It is.
Do you think that starting out any business from the start, that up front when you had maybe an angry customer, because that's what I feel like now dealing with, being like enough years into business, seeing enough of it, when you have an angry customer, when you were early on in your career of starting businesses, that it would make you more emotionally upset and like want to figure it out, versus now you just more objective and like.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what I'm getting at, is like, I used to take these things I'm like, dude, really? You don't.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you? You don't want to use it. Like, F that guy, like, especially even, and this is the dumbest one, but like at the real estate brokerage, because they made me no money anyway. Like, like if somebody would leave the brokerage, I'd get bent out of shape. I'm like, really? Like, why? Or, and you look at the P&L, it's like, this person was worth $1,000,
monthly office rent,
but it would piss me off. And then, you just realize like, that's just how people are.
That's gotta be something too, that me, myself, even now, like it's just up front. I feel like it's so hard because you do take it so personal, because you would think of these businesses as your baby.
Yeah.
But then as you go on, it's just something that you have to learn to deal with and almost be like stoic towards.
Yeah, no, and that's what I'm saying. Like, you do it long enough, it's just like, yeah, I mean, that's life, whatever.
It's part of the business.
That's owning any business. Like,
and that's what it is too. Any business. That's a good term for it, because I feel like you will encounter those anywhere.
Bro, you know how many returns Walmart gets a day and how much turnover they have and how many people talk crap about it? Like, I say it all the time. I'm like, okay, Elon Musk, he didn't create Tesla, but he built, Tesla to what it is today. Mm-hmm. And you know how many people hate on Tesla every day?
Yeah.
Build issues, quality sucks, like he's always late delivering.
Yeah.
He's the worst. And it's like, I don't know, dude, Tesla's doing pretty good. Like,
yeah, you still bought one and you kept it. I got a Tesla. Yeah.
I've bought 3.
Yeah.
And I've been a hater, and yet I'm back.
You were a huge Tesla hater before you had them. Yeah. But you got it. Well,
no, I was a hater. Then I bought one in 2020, and then it sucked. It really did piss me off.
You got a lemon.
I did get a lemon. Yeah. And I got rid of, I'm like, Tesla does suck, guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I came
confirmed.
back. And then I bought a Model Y, and I was like, okay, I actually like this, but it's too small. And now I have an X. But my point, look, the circle. That's exactly what just happened with Tesla. So and that's what I know. It's like, dude, there's gonna be people that leave TrueBooks and they're gonna come back because they're gonna be like, dude, the CP actually sucks. The grass ain't greener.
Yeah.
And that's just life in business. Like Walmart don't get mad every time an employee quits, or like it's just it just is what it is. Like In-N-Out Burger, I'm sure they make burgers that people are pissed off at, and they're like, this burger sucks. I want a refund. And they're like, all right, whatever.
Yeah. And I feel like the faster you can train yourself to deal with that stuff, I feel like the better off everybody is. And then I think about it too, from like an employee perspective. It's like, that's part of the risk and the reason why there is such reward. And I feel like owning a business is because you're the front lines to deal with that stuff, not necessarily your employees. So it's like,
I guess when you're early on, you are the front line. So you got to deal with that.
Yeah.
And it's an emotional thing. But once you get removed and you're no longer having to deal with that, then you just kind of like don't have to. Yeah. It's great. So that they both play part of it, because even like if I talk to somebody who's unhappy and it's me personally talking to them, I still obviously like feel bad.
Yeah.
I feel much less bad now, because even though they're leaving, my life it's not going to change my life. Like I look at it objectively. I'm like,
yeah,
all right. And I also look at things objectively now too, where I'm like, look, my results speak for themselves. So if like, you don't want to be a part of it, I don't care. Like,
yeah, that is true.
I know I'm gonna be fine. I don't know how your life's going to be, but I know I'll be good.
Which I feel like you start to gain that, any business owner, as you go, because you definitely have to have that. Like, did you ever feel like you had imposter syndrome starting out?
Like, I mean, you kind of known me, but like, I don't know. I feel like I've just always been ultra confident.
True. Which I feel like you definitely need some aspect to it, because I feel like then you'll just get crushed if you don't. If you're always questioning yourself.
Oh, for sure.
You never want to rely on yourself for a decision like that. That's a bad path.
Yeah.
Yeah, in business.
So you're actually now into your second business. I forgot that, we're talking about your first business, but now you got a second business. How's it managing to, and tell people what it is?
Good. So it's called Bookkeeping Blueprint. And you said it before this. It's funny because that's the premise of how we met. Hey, I need a bookkeeper. I'm like, oh, dude, I could do this with my eyes closed. So it's teaching people to build a bookkeeping business, which I like, because from a tax perspective now, one of the biggest, one of the biggest reasons you can't tax strategize. You can't do your tax returns. You can't partner with somebody and show them a pro forma or numbers, is because you don't have bookkeeping.
Yep.
Like it is, when I say to people, no matter what tax talk I do, I'm like, this is the backbone to everything, is bookkeeping.
It's the most important thing.
The most important thing. And it's like, but it's sometimes looked upon as the least, like just the green visor and the bean counter in the back. But I'm like, they are so important because they're just such a big piece to this entire puzzle. They're the language of how your business is doing. And so that's the goal here, is to teach people and try to hopefully get more bookkeeping businesses out there, because then in return, more tax work too, better tax work. But
you guys you're teaching people how to build their own bookkeeping business.
Yeah, how to build their own practice.
So like, is it for somebody who's going to be like just a normal person and you're like, yo, you want a side hustle? Like, be a bookkeeper. It's needed.
So the intention was, yes, if you want to start earning side income, this is a great way to do it. Same thing I did before meeting you. Hey, I land somebody at $1,000. I'm going to do your books in QuickBooks once a month. Oh, I get 3 clients. That's $3,000 a month, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then now what we're seeing is we have people who are actual accountants and CPAs that are like, man, maybe instead of like earning a W-2 and working 80 hours a week, making $100,000, I'll go build my own shop and work 40 to 50 hours a week and make 120 to 150, something like that. Or it's people that completely want a different career change.
So like those CPAs would build a true tax firm because they're already licensed, and then they're using bookkeeping as the mechanism to get the tax clients.
Yeah. And we have some that don't even do tax work. They are just going to do bookkeeping work. Like if you think about our bookkeeping practice, we'll do 800,000 this year. I want to get that to $1.5 million to 2 million. You know, that's a great recurring business. And again, it's the backbone to everything. It's just,
they need it.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's that. And so that's been, again, now starting business too. I'm so glad that I can take now at least some of the tools that I've learned from this business, because I just feel like it's such a treacherous journey when you're starting a new business and you have no experience doing it. You're just trying everything. You're wearing every hat. So now we have people playing their roles. I'm doing what I'm good at. Other people are doing what they're good at. And so you come out of the gate a little bit better off.
Yeah. Cause you got partners in that business.
Yep.
And so like your responsibility in that business is essentially just being the educator.
Being the educator and being sort of the expert at the skill.
Yeah.
So backing it with the firm that we have, right? That we built together. And so showing them proof of this is what we did.
Yeah, credibility.
Like, exactly. You can do the exact same thing. And it's like, well, you're not an accountant. I'm an accountant. I can teach you that part. That's easy. Oh, you're an accountant and you hate talking to people. You need to learn how to drive some traffic. We can show you that too.
So you're actually teaching them how to build an accounting firm.
The whole thing. Yeah. Beginning, same software.
Not even really just bookkeeping.
No, same softwares we use, the billing, when to hire people, like everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's an accounting coaching program at the end of the day. Because that's what you found, is that most people are already accountants.
Yeah. And that's what I was surprised with. I thought that more people who were not accountants, who were like, this is cool to make some side money, because it's not a hard skill to learn. It's just math and some organization. You need to be really organized.
It's just tedious work.
Exactly. It's tedious work. And so I thought personally, more customers would come from this market of people who are not even accountants. But because I also thought, like, I'm an accountant and a CPA, I kind of hold this like, I'm a CPA. That's hard to do. Like, it's
what I do is
I'm kind of a big shot here, dude. It's a little
nobody could do this.
And so then I'm like, whoa, but we're seeing a lot of people who are already accountants that are like, oh man, I'd rather just make, the same amount or more money doing my own thing than to working for the man. And so that to me was just an interesting shift to think like, oh, we're not going to sell to these people. We're just going to sell to these people. And I'm like, whoa, there's way more of you than there is the others.
Yeah.
So I just found that to be interesting, but yeah. And that's why, like, I just wish more people understood that, and they will when they go start a business, it's the backbone to everything. Like,
well, I think too, like, you were a prime example of the people you're trying to attract, where you were a W-2 guy making, I don't know, like 70, 80 grand.
You were my ticket to quit.
Yeah.
You were my, got him. All right. Now we're at there, right? I had this side book.
Yeah.
This was a big enough thing. Obviously there was that, hey, we're going to start something and we're going to send more business. But it's like, I could have quit the job at that time.
With just, basically being my guy.
You as a client and the couple tax work, one other bookkeeping client that I had, that was enough. And so now we're just, I'm teaching people the same thing. And that's where, luckily, I don't have so much of the imposter syndrome because I did it. I'm literally like living proof of what I'm trying to preach here. But I will say, and like something that's interesting that I could learn from you still is like, now when I get on these calls to help them, I'm always like, what do you want from me? I don't know. Like, I'm like a normal guy here. I don't know what you want to hear, but it's crazy to hear that they just want to hear the story. They want to hear stories that you're running into now in your business. And it's like, So that is more so for me, something that I deal with now, but
yeah. Being, I tell people this all the time, right? Because everything requires a different skill, right? So it's like you were a CPA, which you mastered, right? And so you knew how to be a CPA, do tax, bookkeeping, like that core skill set. And so when I asked you to be a business owner now, I had to teach you a whole new skill set. I'm like, Matt, dude, no, you're not going to do sales calls.
Yeah.
Matt, no, like we're going to hire people.
Yeah.
Like, no, this is what we're going to like. And it, you know, it reminded me during that time of like, oh yeah, like he doesn't know. Like you never learned it.
Yep.
So he's going to have to learn it over here. And I'm going to have to learn how to be a leader to coach him through that because, you know, breaking through to different people requires different things. And so, you know, you have to figure out what is that person's biggest fear, where you're like, for you, it was like, well, dude, man, like this is my income. And, you know, if we like, or am I going to be able to do it? You know, cause for me, it was easy to say like, I don't care if we freaking make money. Like I'm good. Like I got this going on, but I understand your hesitation. So let me help you see how this plays out for you in your favor. So, you know, with a lot of people, you got to help them see why taking this next step is going to be so big.
Yeah.
So like, that's one thing, but like even the skill of people like, I want to do social media. I'm like, all right, new skill, just so you know, has nothing to do with how great of a house flipper or a CPA or anything. Doesn't matter. You could be the best entrepreneur ever who's made millions of dollars. I don't care.
You're back to the basics, baby.
Yep. A camera's different. You know, you want to get into education, which is what you're now in.
Yep.
It's different. Like, yeah, you know it, but like you just said, how do I become a great teacher?
Yep.
And coach and all that? Like it's just different.
Skills to it all. Yeah. And, but so what's interesting is when we started that business, they're like, what does success look like to you? And I'm like, ooh, I got to like take a second to think about this. Cause I'm a CPA. So like, I always make the joke that I wish that no matter where I walked around, when I first meet somebody, I wish they told me what they did and how much money they make. That's what I care. That's what I want to talk about. Right. That's what I care about. And so I was like, well, wait, like the way I would know it's successful, I'm thinking immediately in my head, it's like, oh, when the business is profitable, we're doing crazy numbers. Like from a P&L perspective, we're looking good. But I'm like, no, I think it is like watching somebody that is like me do the same thing. Cause I'm like I said, like I will forever be indebted for what happened here. Like this was life-changing for me. I can't imagine and now watch that multiply across other people. And now like last night we got someone on the call, Aubrey. And, she was like, yeah, I hopped on, watched a couple modules. And she was like, I'm just going to watch one of the past live calls. She watched one of the live calls. And all I did was talk about how I never did this when we started. Oh, just make a post to your Facebook group and just say what you're doing. Hey, I've started this new venture. I never did that. And I don't even know why, but I was like, do this. I would all recommend doing this. She's like, yeah. Friend that I haven't talked to in 15 years has a psychology practice and 2 other businesses, already signed her. And I was like, oh my gosh. So it was like that to me was that a success watching, which I'm sure just like for you flipped your first home.
Yep.
Now teaching the next 100, 200, 300,000 people that they're doing it. It's like, whoa, that's success.
Yeah.
Cause now you're seeing it replicate and it's like, this isn't anything that they can't do.
Yeah.
But they didn't do it before me, right? Like I'm the catalyst to helping them do that.
Yeah.
That to me now is the win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it becomes now a purpose-driven thing. And so, and that part of back to why I'm doing what I'm doing now, it's like everything for me is so much more purpose-driven because, you know, I've made the money like I've wanted to make. And, you know, once I guess you achieve the goals that you set out to achieve, you're just like, all right, now what?
What's next?
Like I never had huge material goals.
Yeah.
And so never dreamed I'd have a Tesla. And here I am. I think you bought a watch before me, I think. Like
I did. That was the first thing. Yeah. That was probably a really dumb move too, but I did.
I never cared about like material things really at all. Even though as flashy as I might look today. But it became this thing where even with my house flipping company and TrueBooks and the agent or the brokerage, the thing I would just look at internally, I'm like, dude, like these don't really fulfill me. Like they're great businesses. Like they run well, they make money, but I don't really care about realtors. I don't really care about tax. Like it's a business, you know? And by the way, like I love the people element of it. Like, you know, the realtors we did have, you know, great. Our clients, great. The house flips, like I love my employees, but like it's just a transactional thing. Like, you know, you fix the house and you do it. And, you know, they're all just like what I would just call money makers, and you do need to make money because what you do with money can have purpose, which is something that, for me, it's like, dude, the more money I make, the more I can donate, the more people I can help, all these things happen if I make money. So they do serve like, I guess, half a purpose. But when you can have a business that makes money and has purpose, then it changes. And I'm like, dude, that's what I love with Wealthy Investor and our events and all the people whose lives are changed. And then they tell me, they're like, dude, freaking this happened. I got my first deal, this, all this. And I'm like, this is what it's all about. I could do this the rest of my life, and, you get the best of both worlds, purpose and money. And that's like kind of what it sounds like for you with this. Yeah.
It's like because it's nice to save somebody on their taxes. When I have somebody calling me and they're like, dude, I just saved 200 grand on my tax bill. Great. Love that.
Yeah.
That's the reason I got into tax. I was an auditor, right? Like everybody loves the tax guy, but this was the first one where they were like, all right, well, how do you know you'll be like, what is success for you here? And I'm like, dang, it's actually watching somebody else be successful.
But that's only once you've achieved.
Yes. It took me doing what I was doing. I would never even have the guts, even though I was an accountant and a stuffy CPA. I didn't have the skills to even teach someone that, even if I tried. But so that's why I'm glad that I got the experience first to do it.
Yeah. But I'm saying like, because for you, like when we first started TrueBooks, if you would ask both of us what our version of success for TrueBooks would have been, yours would have probably been, well, I'll say for me, it would have just been like, dude, if my taxes, like if I can just keep it in house and like, we're good, like that's success to me.
Yeah.
And for you, it's like, dude, if I can quit my job and like replace that and run my own thing, that's success for me.
If I can make 85 grand.
Yeah.
If I can make 85 grand and like not work for the man and like pick my kids up or, like have a flexible schedule, that was a win for me.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, when I was flipping couches, I was like, dude, if I can make $200 a day, that is a big W. This is going to be great.
Yeah.
And, obviously as you level up, it changes. And so, for you to now running a firm that's done, I don't know, almost $10 million, it's like, okay, now what? Like I've made money more than I thought I would ever make this quickly. And, what now? Like what does success look like? I don't know that you're going to feel any different if TrueBooks does 5 million next year.
Yeah.
Like it'd be great. You got to have goals, but like, I doubt internally it's going to feel any different.
Yeah, no. I had a good conversation to where somebody was like, well, wait, so if your firm will do 3 million this year, let's say, do you want to do like, 6 to 10 million in the next 4 or 5 years? And I'm like, that sounds good. Like, and then you start to think about like what kind of team it takes to do that. But then they're like, well, what if you ran a $3 to $4 million firm, but just better? And I was like, whoa, I really like that. Whether it's a higher profit margin or lower profit margin, but let's say happier employees, happier clients, less churn. Like I'm like
less churn or less time for you in the business.
Yeah. And I'm like, that sounds really good too. And so I think to like what you were saying, like every business has a purpose and it's like, maybe every business is not just, and I know not maybe every business is not meant to just take it to the moon and sell. Yeah. Some businesses are like, whoa, I know that this business is going to gross 500K a year, but I know it's going to net 175 on a dime every year. And I know that that's the model. So,
these laundry mats I hear about.
Oh, shout out Cody Sanchez. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I think about there.
That's
like,
funny.
You just can't grow it. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're completely capped. Yeah. And that's like what I find fascinating because I feel like coming into business, which I feel like I didn't even really plan to own a business coming into this. I didn't know anything, but now I'm like, there's so many variations. There's no right way. Yeah. You can run it how you want. But it definitely, as you said too, will take different skill sets to get to where you want.
Yeah.
Like if you're really trying to grow and scale, yeah, you need to know the numbers, but your leadership skills better be top notch because dealing with the turnover, your emotional skills better be top notch, dealing with people complaining, dealing with employees complaining, dealing with clients complaining. And so, which I feel like is nice because you kind of learn that along the way.
Well, what's interesting is before we started this, I was just telling you kind of the changes I'm making across Pineda company. And, I was basically saying that I have to go like in the business right now, which I guess it's not even really in the business. It's still like on the business, but like I'm going in having meetings,
deeper layers
every single day for hours a day with like literally everyone.
Yep.
And I'm trying to understand how they do their jobs. Like even the lowest totem. I'm like, tell me about what you do. Right. And like, what's your day-to-day look like? And what I'm trying to do is create processes for each layer of the business all the way from the bottom. Because I've been so top level for so long that it's got us to this point. It's been great. And this is what I was saying earlier. It's like, you can't do both, right? Like,
you would have never had the growth you had if trying to focus on both.
No. And, most people get stuck in the weeds and that's why they don't grow. And I was like, so I have no regrets over the path that we've gone on to this point, which was, hey, I'm going to just focus at the top. I'm going to make this funnel massive and focus on these core things that will help us get there. And it got us here. And now I'm saying, okay, but to your point, you want to get to the next level. There's a skill you have to improve. And you're like, hey, I got to become a better leader. Hey, I may need to become a better marketer now if I want to scale. For me, I'm saying, dude, I actually need to do the opposite, the thing people struggle with. And I need to go back into the process and refine every little detail that's leaking leads or money or inefficiency. Like, that's how you scale a big business. It's like, I know for us to get to, like, my goal is to do over 50 million next year. And
huge.
It's like, I know we can get there. Like, I've literally built out every process of what it would do. I've never done it like this, but it's also because I have now perspective of all the things that have worked, what hasn't worked, what we could do more of. Cause right. That's the whole point. And that's what we tell our clients too. Where TrueBooks was, hey, when you have a CFO and you have the numbers and everything, what works.
Yeah.
Just do more of that.
That's the path.
Yeah. That thing that you did over here, don't do that.
Yeah.
Just stop doing that.
Yeah. Numbers don't lie.
Yeah. And so, like, I'm running all the pro formas and building out the offers that would allow for that, building out the teams, the sales, and the onboarding process and all the things that would allow us to do it at a high level. And it's been fun, because it's such a change of pace for me to like sit in all these meetings. They're always like, dude, are you going to film content? I've had it on my thing to film reels for like a month. I haven't filmed like any, because I'm just so dialed in with just knocking out process after process after process and building out SOPs and new standards and KPIs. And I'm like, and I'm getting excited about it, because to me, you would appreciate this. It's just math.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, no, there's
just a formula to it.
Yeah. This is just math, guys. Like, we've done these numbers, and I know that as long as we generate this many leads, we have these types of people and these roles, and the offers funnel this way, and we have the right amount of emails and the right amount of text, like, it's going to work.
Yep.
It's just, now having this clear process and roadmap, if it's not working, we know where it broke.
Yep.
Because as long as it keeps going down the path, like, it's working. Yeah. And if it stops, or you have like this massive, like, underperformance, you're like, why? And then you can go in and fix it or readjust. You're like, okay, that's maybe not realistic. Let's readjust and kind of go back and change some things.
Tweak it, but you at least know where you like isolate.
Because people don't know where their problems are in business.
No. And that's how you'll identify them, though, is I think going back to the ground floor and saying, tell me what you do. Yeah. I always like that exercise too, because I always I'll challenge employees to be like, I know I'm good at it. I potentially am better than you at it. That's the reason I'm possibly here where I'm at. So let me come in and try to help you. But then I also understand, like, I'm removed from that. You should be better than me at some point with this,
Yeah. People get scared when I do it, because I'm like, what do you do here? I'll mess with people like I never talk to. I'll be like, hey, so tell me about what you do. That was your last conversation.
I got fired.
They're like,
I just want to know what I do. So just tell the next person.
Like, I'm like, there's no wrong answer. Trust me. Like, I just want to understand what you do.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you probably you are doing it wrong, and we're going to make it better. Like, just know that.
Do you think one of the biggest things that I find myself now, so shout out to my wife, Sarah. I laugh about this because when I first met her, I thought she was really rude. I thought she was extremely rude. I remember when I shook her hand for the first time. Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm like, oh, okay. Nice to meet you.
Strict.
Yeah, nice to meet. Super type A strict. And so, but I'd realized though, she's just very direct. So at times that I'm like, you're rude. She's like, no, I'm just being clear and direct. And that is something that I am. Hey, if you have a chance by next Tuesday, if your mom's not working, can you like maybe do this? And it's just
as long as you feel good.
Yeah. So if you feel like doing it, if you could do that. And so that's a big downfall for me, is like, there's no firm affair. There's no real clarity. And so that's this path and like this journey that I'm on of like, cause I realized too, that now every time I send an email or I ask somebody something, an employee, a team member, whoever, I'm like, am I going to get the answer that I want with what I'm asking? And 99% of the time it's no, because I'm not being nearly clear enough. Do you feel that took you time to learn to be super clear and direct with people? Or was that something that's like came more naturally? I feel like you're more naturally clear though. You're pretty direct and clear with like, it's not ambiguous with what you're asking for. You're clear with it.
And I'll tell you where I struggle. So, I mean, like even ever since we started working together. I was always like, if you were doing great, I'd be like, Matt, dude, that was legit, dude. And I'll like publicly praise you. And then like, if you do something stupid, like, bro, no, that's, what are you doing? Like there's no in between of like, yeah, it was okay.
Yeah.
If it was okay, I'll be like, no, that's not good enough. There's just either you did it great or you sucked.
Yeah.
So, but that's the definition of clear, because if you're just like, hey, I mean, that was pretty good. What does that mean?
Yeah. Okay. Well, all right, dude, should I do it again?
Like, I don't know if you're saying that was good or bad. I don't know. So I purposely am like, you suck or you're good.
Yeah.
That's just my style. But I think my problem is not giving clear directions, one thing, but I have no follow-up. So the problem
I remember asking you something like this, and it was a good answer though, because I feel like you were just like, no, I just trust that it's getting done. And if it doesn't get done, then I have to kind of be roped in again.
But now what I will add is that, once again,
that's cool. This is a life cycle question. I definitely have asked you that. I was like, dude, how do you manage all of like, when you ask somebody to do stuff, like, do you know? Over these years, right? I'll be like, Matt, I need you to do this. Right. And I don't ever follow up with you. I'm just like, I assume that you did it. Yeah.
Now that does, once again, get you to a certain point, as long as you have really talented people that you're trusting. Now, what I'm saying is that's good, but I think maybe I was on the extreme end of zero follow-up.
Yeah.
I think for me, where I'm now headed is like, all right, today, as it stands right now, I'm like micromanaging, where I'm just going in and resetting the tone and the standards and the culture and all that stuff, right? Because I know today, if we have close to 100 people, like if I want to grow to 500 people, it's these 100 that are going to set the tone for those.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm not going to get to spend time with the next 400.
Yeah.
So I need to really pour into these people right now at this very moment, if I feel that we're about to like really scale. So I'm like pouring into them right now and micromanaging and just being intentional and everything. And then what I think will happen is there will be somewhere in between where, I'm going to hand something off to you. And, as you know, like I'll have Javi, my COO at Pineda company. He'll be checking in with you on like the things, right? So like we're all aware, so I shouldn't have to check in. The problem is I don't even check in with Javi. That's the problem. Yeah. And so what needs to happen is, all right, dude, like I need to see the KPIs.
Give me the status on these projects.
Every single day or week. And that's the problem. I'm like, dude, they're going to do it.
Yeah.
And what has happened is there's problems that Javi or Brian or even you have tried to solve on your own because you feel empowered. You're like, great. All right. I'm going to go do it. And then like, I look at it a month later and I'm like, dude, you guys didn't do it. And it's not that you didn't do it. It's that you just maybe needed more.
Yeah. From me. Carry it out the way that you expected.
Yeah.
You didn't get the outcome you expected.
Yeah. And if I would have just like stayed with it for like that first week of like, hey, let me, like, if you don't hit this metric by this week, come back to me. Not that you failed, but just let's figure out how we can make sure we do it. Yeah. Instead of me waiting a month. And Gary Harper really helped me realize that, because we do these every 90 days.
Yep. Rocks.
The quarterly meetings. And like, that's always when I react.
Yeah.
Because I get the result. And I'm like,
fresh meeting. Yeah.
I'm like, guys, what the heck?
Yeah.
And like, well, we did this and that. And then
should have hit me 30 days in or something.
I'm like, why didn't you tell me this? I would have fixed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the most annoying example I'll just give people is like, I knew we were going to like an event-based model in education. I'm like, dude, we throw WealthCon every quarter. There's over 1,000 people. Like, that's not easy to do.
Yeah.
And I go, we're going to need a lot of sales guys to sell tickets and everything. And we're going to hold more workshops. We're going to do all these things. And I told them, I go, guys, we need to hire like 10 sales guys. Okay. Like, this is what it's going to take. I told them that at the beginning of the quarter. We get to the end of the quarter. We didn't sell as many tickets as we thought. I'm like, why didn't we sell as many tickets? Oh, well, like stuff was this. And then I'm like, dude, no, you know why we didn't?
Yeah.
You didn't hire the sales guys that I told you.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, dude, like we interviewed sales guys and like, it's just hard to get. I go, dude, it's not not. I go,
yeah,
I'm just going to do it right now. Like if you guys would have told me you were having such a hard time, I would have solved this in a week.
Yeah.
And I go, I'm going to prove it to you right now.
Yeah.
I got on my phone. I was like, Job fair, my office, 7:30 Friday. Show up. 20 people showed up.
Wow.
We hired 10. I go, there's your 10. And I go, guess what? Not all 10 are going to work out. I understand that. Okay. This is going to be like all these Utah MLM companies where, they're going to go get all these people and the cream will rise to the top.
Yep.
And I go, we're going to have a job fair every Friday. And every Friday we're going to get new people in, and there's going to be people that leave because they're just not good. And by the end of it, we're going to have a squad. In a month, we'll have a squad.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And, sure enough, wow, we have 12 people up there. It's crazy. Yeah. I could have fixed this 6 months ago.
Yeah. See, and if you extrapolate that out, is insane. Like
how much money we lost because they didn't tell me about it, that they were having a problem. And it's not that I think they were trying to hide it, or it's like,
probably thought they'd get it done.
Yeah. I gave you this task, and instead of you telling me you had a problem with it, you should have just came back to me. I would have fixed it.
Yeah. No, which I think too, from a leadership perspective, teams like seeing a leader hop back in and do calls. Like I know at the firm, accountants hate talking to clients. Luckily, I'm like, I'll never forget when I met this one guy, Anthony Faso. Shout out to Anthony.
He was at Bible study yesterday.
Yeah, he's awesome. When I first met him at an accounting bowling event, he was like, dude, you're an accountant? And I was like, yeah. And then I just don't act like a typical accountant. And so now with my team, to try to encourage them to talk to clients on the phone, I'm like, give me the phone now. I'll call them. And they think that the clients are going to be so mad and upset, but I'm just like, they're so happy to just have somebody on the phone. Yeah. So when a leader hops in and does something that anybody rolls up the sleeves, I think people respect that. So it's like, I try to use those moments as like, hey, I can do it. You can do it. But it's funny though. They like to say, well, that's the Matt factor. Like anytime the owner calls them, they're going to be fine. And I'm like, well, I get that there's like a component of that, but then it's like, they just want to talk to somebody, Yeah. So
I make, I mess with the sales team when that happens at like WealthCon and stuff, because they're like, Ryan, they're thinking about signing up. And I was like, dude, let me show you how it's done. And I just, because they can't do it, I'll be like, hey guys, are you going to sign up? And they're like, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, and I'm like, guys, closing isn't hard. Like it was that, I'm just making fun of them because, it is like, it's the exact opposite. Yeah. I'm like, obviously that wouldn't work for you. Like,
no, it's funny. I remember you doing that too. Like one of those highlights of, we were upstairs and somebody was like trying to close a deal on the home flip side. And you're like, give me the phone. Give me the phone. You're like pacing, you're walking, you're like 10, 12 minutes later, that deal closed. And we're like, whoa. Like that was good. And I feel like that sets a big tone for like, oh, okay. Like he walks the walk here, which I feel like people respect in a leader. Like that's where I've realized too, like this whole leader boss thing is like, they want to see that you're there to support them in the role that they're doing, but like that you've done it and you still can do it. Yeah.
And that's kind of what I've been trying to instill back is that, okay, if I've been removed doing high level stuff, I'm like, I hear like, oh, well, the leads aren't that good and this and that. I go, really? You think the leads aren't good? So let me get this straight. Okay. We have the best advertising in the world. Okay. At Home Run Offer, we have TV commercials. I don't know of a better lead source.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I know other people are cold calling and text messaging junk.
Yeah. Okay. Someone picked up the phone.
Somebody saw our face, called us.
Yeah.
Okay. That's one thing. Okay. On the education side, they know who we are, right? They've watched my podcast for years.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know that there's people in other industries like solar and door, pest control that they have to door knock everyone and cold call everyone, right? You realize that these people, it's just a matter of whether or not they can afford it.
Yeah.
Like it's not that you have to, do you know that in normal businesses, they don't know who you are.
Yeah.
And they have to, they have to be convinced first off that you're a good business and that you're credible.
Yeah.
Then it becomes, is the value there? Is that like, you're missing the hardest part. Like it's already done.
Yeah.
And I go, so let me ask this again. So you think the leads aren't that, you know what? You need a reality check. Get out of here. Like just go work at another company and then you'll end up back in the circle.
Yeah.
At some point with perspective. Of what it is. Right. And, I always get on sales because I'm a sales guy. Yeah. And so I just like get pissed when I hear dumb things. Like I just hear excuses. Right. Because, you just really have no tolerance for it. And I think that's what we were talking about earlier, where you're like, man, dude, like I used to get really,
emotional.
But now I'm like, because you have perspective.
Yeah.
You have 4 years of perspective. Dude, I played 8 years in professional baseball making $1,200 a month. Like,
yeah,
I have perspective of not making money.
Yeah.
Going for a dream and just trying to make it happen. And you're mad because it didn't work out in year one.
Yeah.
And so I just don't have tolerance for it because it's perspective.
Not even that too. Just like, I feel like some people, that's now too, people are picking up and putting down things too much. They don't want to try to even get good at it first, which I feel like from what I've seen, people would be successful in what they're doing if they just stuck with it. And I feel like that is like, it's a cliche thing to say though, but
it can't be me. It must be the opportunity.
Yeah.
It must be the opportunity that,
and I'm just like, man,
real estate's not, it's the market.
Yeah.
No, you just quit. Like,
give it some.
How many offers did you make?
Yes, that's a big, especially. That's funny. I was on a panel the other day doing a tax talk but it was more real estate focused. And I was like, guys, let me tell you what, like, take it from the tax guy. But like, where a lot of you are going to leave this room right here and fail is you're just even not going to make an offer. Like, I've talked to enough real estate guys, like, you're going to throw thousands at the wall to talk to 50 to land one.
Yeah.
So, and it's like, they still don't understand that concept. But I feel like to any business, it's like, if you're struggling with sales, you just got to get the reps in. Like, really, whatever it is, I feel like in life that you're struggling in, get the reps in that.
Yeah. Well, and that's the point back to what originally where you're like, dude, it's good when the owner gets his hands dirty. So like, I've been going in every department and I'm like, all right, so tell me about the leads, right? Because even though I'm talking about sales, like, we can obviously improve the leads dramatically. And I'm like, you guys have been paying this much per lead? Oh, it's no wonder we're not making what we should be making. You didn't think that maybe we should try a different strategy?
Yeah.
In the last year?
Yeah.
Nobody thought that this was, worth trying to change.
Yeah.
And, and I don't say it like well, I kind of do sometimes, but, it just blows my mind. And I'm like, you know what? That's me. Everything reverts back to me. Mm-hmm. If I would have just set the standard better and I would have been watching it, they wouldn't have happened, So everything always comes back to you as the owner. But, now it's like, hey guys, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to literally do it either for you and set it up or with you along the way so that we ensure it gets done. It's not going to be, hey, I want you to do this. I'm out. I'm going to do every process with you guys. And I want you to give me the feedback too.
Yes.
As we're building it so that we can make adjustments along the way. And guess what? We'll build it together. Yeah. And then once it's where it needs to be, then I will get back out.
That's a really good perspective because I feel like it used to scare me with the thought of like, well, I'm the leader, so we have to pick this decision to go with it because I know that it's me that like, I have to take the brunt, the good or the bad.
Yeah.
Now I almost like it though, because again, back to me, like not being clear, scared to ask for things. I'm like, well, now you have to follow this because if it's going to be my neck on the line, I want it to make sure that like, it's something that I'm backing, that you guys are backing. And so we're going to have to believe in this or else who are we following here?
Yeah.
So I kind of like now owning that responsibility because then it gives you that decision-making power to be like, well, guys, do you want it to fall on you? Do you want, a Google review to come in with your name or, my name or the firm's name? And so it allows them to really hopefully gain that perspective to be like, well, wait, I understand that there's a tone that we need to follow here. And I get why we're trying to follow what he's saying or she's saying is because the buck stops with them. So we're there to, help support that. So,
well, I think so like right now you're in a stage, which I've been in, in different businesses where it's like, hey, you know what? We're not like trying to do anything new. It's just like, hey, we're trying to just like be better than we were yesterday. And like, keep getting a better client experience, keep leveling up and, improve processes however we can. But we're not trying to like go launch a new product or like do something out of the blue. What I'm about to do is something completely new. Like I'm trying to literally like, 3X, 4X, everything. Yeah. And, it's hard to, and rightfully so with an employee to say, I'm like, hey, this plan's going to work. And like, well, dude, it's like, we've never done that.
Yeah.
But I know it's going to work. Yeah. Everything I've ever done, I'm like, no, dude, this is going to work. This is the YouTube thing. It's going to work.
Yeah.
And, nobody else may believe it, but I'm like, dude, I already know it's going to work because I already know the formula. I've seen it. And I've had enough experience in my life starting lots of things that seemed to be, very unimaginable and then just execute them really quickly. So like with this new endeavor, I'm like, no, I already know it's going to work, guys. Like it's math. Like I know it's going to work. And
what do you,
well, it's just, if I were to say that and just let them run with it, it won't work.
Yeah.
They need to believe and they need to see me reinforcing each little step of the way. Because right now, basically what we're talking about is faith. This plan, we have not done it before. It's changing the whole business model. And so, if you're just like, we're changing everything, go do it. Yeah. It's not going to work. But if I'm there every step of the way and you're seeing the pieces starting to show each step, you're like, oh yeah, like, dude, okay.
See it come together.
That's work. Okay. You start to develop faith and you start to believe. And then all of a sudden you get momentum. That's what momentum is from. Momentum doesn't just like all of a sudden you just rocket it. It's like building, building. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, like this plan actually is working. Yeah. And that's why I jokingly will call things out. Like, freaking told you it was going to, like, why'd you doubt? Yeah. It's like, that's why I'm getting hyped with Deion Sanders and everything he's doing.
Oh, I love it,
like,
dude.
What are you guys doing?
We were going to go watch the homecoming game. We thought they were playing Colorado University, but they're playing State at UNLV. So we were like, I'm going. Yeah. They're not though. What do you think? So to that tune of like getting people to buy into that new vision and that new faith and like have faith behind that, do you really focus on what motivates team members to work towards that accomplished goal? Because like to me, I always chalk it up to really, I feel like employees love money and flexibility in this day. But then you obviously have this emotional pay too, which is the culture, the team that they work with and all of that. So do you really focus on anything specific when you're making a big change like that? Like this is why it benefits you, not just
for sure. Yeah, everyone, right? I mean,
I feel like you need to.
Yeah. I mean, in the company, you got to have like the same alignment and hey, what's the company about? Where are we going? What's going on here? Hey, how do they treat me? How do I benefit from all this? And some employees may not benefit more pay from this, but they're going to benefit from a better culture, better perks and job security,
role,
everything. Right. And, cause there are people who don't necessarily want to like move up to more responsibility, even that makes like, they're good. Like, dude, no, I'm good. Like right here. I don't want to I want to do my job and just do it. So, there's all those factors, but I think the key is whenever you're trying to do something that someone has never done before, you have to accurately show them how it's going to happen and get them to believe in the vision. So like when I was trying to basically recruit you to quit your job and everything, I was like, no, bro, like, here's how it's going to happen. Like, this is why we're going to succeed and win, like worst case scenario, you got me. And like, this is what that looks like in the worst case. Yeah. Best case, we're going to have these agents coming in. They're going to use us. I've got a bunch of buddies I'm going to reach out to. I'm going to be starting this coaching program. That's going to bring people in. Like, so it's just helping you see like, okay, I could see how this could work. And that's the hardest part is like the initial buy-in. Yeah. Because once, it starts to work.
Once you get the steam rolling.
You're like, all right, this is working, right? Yeah. So it's the initial buy-in that's the most important.
Focusing on really what that vision looks like for them.
Yeah, because if I'm trying to recruit somebody, right? Especially if I'm trying to get them to come over from like something that's already successful, I'm like, hey, this is why this is going to be even better. Now, I have track record now to say that, hey, what I'm telling you is going to happen.
Helps a little.
Yeah. But even then it's like, dude, hey, if I say we're going to 100 million, it's like, well, we've never done that. Yeah. But, people could buy in based on track. Like, yeah, dude, whatever this guy says, like, I believe it. Right. Yeah. But it still is going to require like what you're saying to actually start happening.
Yeah. It gives me so much more perspective too now to like, when you think about people running businesses with 500, thousands of employees. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, to think of like, I immediately think of the stress and stuff like that. But I'm like, the direction and the leadership and the management corporate structure that you have to have for something like that is like admirable now. Cause I feel like I started this firm where it was like, hey, you're good at it. I hired top down, right? Our approach was we're going to hire management first and then senior, then staff. And to think that, and somewhere where you could say that I somewhat went wrong was like, hey, you already know your job. This is like kind of like a lackadaisical. I'm like, oh, okay, no. We got to tone this back and have some more structure to it. So I'm like, to think that if I would have kept running that way and not tried to bring that back later and like how that would never work in an organization that's so large.
No, never. That's what we're learning.
Yeah. You can't you have to have such clear, definitive roles and responsibilities. Yeah. It's like, it's just
you got to become more corporate.
You do. And it's like, so it's funny. I was having a conversation the other day and somebody was like, where do you think what were the past jobs that you held that you really liked? And thinking back, it was the two that were the most corporate I've ever had. Deloitte, which has 250,000 employees, and Smith's, my first job, bagging groceries. And I'm
groceries.
like, those were, and like, even if I think about this now, Wells Fargo, very structured corporate. I understood my role. I understood my pay. I understood when I would like be failing at something because it was clear what I had to do.
And this is what will happen if you continue to fail. Like,
and these other firms that I worked at, prior to starting TrueBooks was like, it was what I was starting out like, hey, get your work done. You're not really reporting to anybody clearly. And I'm like, okay, we got to shut that down because that's not working. And so, yeah. So it's just like experience and perspective is like all it. And that's where like, you got to get the reps in to get that. You'll never come out of the game. You can't know it. You're going to have to keep flopping and making decisions that you later somewhat regret. And that's, yeah. It's just,
but it's good. Making regrettable decisions only helps you as long as you keep going.
It's necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, dude, I'm excited to see, obviously what you do with TrueBooks and, the growth and the path and everything. I'm excited to see what you do with the brand blueprint, or not the brand blueprint. That's what we do at Pineda Media, the bookkeeping blueprint. So for anybody who's interested in either of those, we will link to them down below here, in the description, but, dude, it's been a fun ride. Obviously, we're still doing a lot of stuff together too behind the scenes. So, like I said, it's
no farewell.
Cool. Yeah, it's no farewell. I'll never see you again because at the end of the day, we have the circle.
This is true.
So either way, even if you were out of the circle, which you're not, because you're still in the circle doing things, you would end up inevitably
circle. Yeah. No, dude, this is great. And again, thank you for everything, dude. This is the wildest ride, and we're still on the ride, and it's just, I've learned so much.
Yeah, for sure.
It's stuff you can't buy. You can't buy this kind of learning.
No, you can't buy experience. No. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed this episode on reflections of a business. And if you want to see more content like this, let me know in the comments, and we'll see you later. Peace.
We grew from 0 to 1,300 employees in 5.5 years. Most businesses suck at marketing, sales, and culture. You absolutely do not need to compete on price. You need to compete on the value and the experience.